All right, so we're diving into something today that I think is probably on a lot of people's minds.
Yeah.
Financial goals.
Big one.
Yeah, we all got them.
Right.
Whether it's, that big dream vacation or early retirement or just feeling like you've got a good handle on your money.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
turning those wishes into reality,
That's the hard part.
that's where it gets a little bit tricky.
Exactly.
So we're going to dig into this today. We've
Yeah.
got a podcast conversation between a host and a financial expert to unpack.
And this one is really interesting because it gets into sort of the psychology behind it all.
Oh, cool.
A little bit more than just like,
Yeah.
budget and save.
Yeah, because I know for me, just the thought of setting financial goals can feel kind of overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where do I even start?
Totally.
So I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah, I think this will be a good one.
Yeah.
The source that we're looking at today actually starts with something really simple,
Okay.
and that is specificity.
Oh.
So instead of saying, like, I want to save more, you say, I want to save $500 a month for a down payment on a condo.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference.
Right. It's like suddenly you've got this clear target in sight instead of just this kind of vague idea.
Yeah.
But why does that work so well?
Well, think about it.
Is it just about having a number to aim for?
It's more than that.
Right.
I think when you're that specific, you're really kind of confronting the reality of your finances.
Right. Yeah.
To save $500 a month, you need to know how much you're earning and how much you're spending.
I got to figure it out.
So I think specificity just leads to more awareness.
Okay.
And awareness is always the first step to actually changing your behavior.
Right. So it's not just about the goal itself.
Right.
It's about the process of getting there.
I think so.
It forces you to take stock of
Yeah.
where you are.
Absolutely.
Let me see.
And there's another layer to this.
Okay.
I think when you have a specific goal, like in this case, a down payment on a condo, you're tapping into something that's way more motivating
Yeah.
than just saving more.
Okay.
You have this like vision of what that money will bring you.
Right.
It's powerful stuff.
It's like the difference between saying, I want to get in shape and I want to run a 5K in 3 months.
Yeah.
Suddenly there's this deadline,
Right.
this event
Love that.
to train for.
Yeah. Perfect analogy.
It makes it feel real.
Yeah.
Makes it feel real.
Yeah. And that brings us to, I think, another important point
Okay.
that this expert emphasizes:
Okay.
measurability.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to track your progress.
Yeah.
So if your goal is to save $500 a month,
Right.
how are you actually going to monitor that?
Yeah. Are you going to use a spreadsheet,
Right.
a budgeting app?
This is where I personally struggle.
Really?
I start off strong and then life gets in the way.
Yeah.
And I kind of lose track.
Sure.
What are some strategies for actually staying on course, especially when that motivation starts to dwindle? This podcast actually digs into a few different approaches, but one that really stuck with me was this idea of automating your savings.
Okay.
You've probably heard this before.
Yeah.
But they go into more detail about why this is so effective.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Right.
I mean, I get that it takes the work out of it,
Yeah,
but is there something more going on psychologically?
I think so.
Okay.
Every time you have to decide whether to transfer money to savings, it's like you're having this battle with your present self.
Right.
Your present self wants that new gadget or that meal out.
Instant gratification.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you automate your savings, you just remove that decision point entirely.
Okay.
You're outsmarting your present self
That's brilliant.
by making that decision in advance.
I like that.
When you're thinking more rationally about your long-term goals.
It's like tricking your brain
Oh, it's
into making the right choice.
Yeah, love it.
But what about those moments when you just need a little boost? A little reminder of why you're doing all of this.
Sure. You need that little motivation.
Yeah.
Well, I was pleasantly surprised that this podcast didn't just give the typical celebrate your milestones advice.
Right.
They took it a step further.
Okay.
They recommend celebrating even the small wins,
Interesting.
like the seemingly insignificant ones.
I've always focused on the big picture,
Right.
like hitting a certain savings target or whatever.
Sure.
But how does celebrating small wins actually change things?
I think it's all about hacking your brain's reward system.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you manage to put aside an extra $50 this week.
Okay.
Instead of just brushing it off.
Yeah.
You acknowledge it.
Okay.
You maybe treat yourself to a small coffee or something you enjoy.
Okay.
It reinforces that positive behavior.
So you're training your brain to
Yeah.
associate saving with positive feelings
Exactly.
instead of seeing it as the sacrifice.
Yeah. And you know what?
Like that.
We've been talking about this very idealized version of saving. Okay.
Right.
Right.
But what about when real life hits?
Uh, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Those unexpected expenses.
The car breakdown, the vet bill.
The leaky roof.
You got it.
How do you incorporate that into your goal-setting strategy without feeling like you're constantly starting from scratch?
Right, because that's the thing that can be so discouraging.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this podcast actually frames it in a really empowering way.
Okay.
It's not about avoiding these unexpected expenses altogether.
Right.
It's about building resilience into your financial plan.
So it's not about being perfect.
Exactly.
It's about being prepared.
Yeah, love that.
I like that.
All right.
But how do you actually do that?
Okay.
How do you plan for the unplanned?
So they talk about the importance of having different types of emergency funds.
Okay.
Which I thought was a really interesting distinction.
Okay.
So you've got your short-term fund.
Okay.
For those kind of like immediate, smaller expenses.
Yeah. All right. So like the car repair.
Exactly. The broken appliance.
Right.
That sort of thing.
Okay.
But then they also emphasize the need for a long-term fund.
Okay.
Something to cover you in case of a job loss or a major health issue.
Wow. Okay.
Something big.
Yeah. So it's like you've got the safety net for the everyday bumps in the road.
Yeah.
But then you've also got like the parachute.
Love it.
For when things really go sideways.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
Yep.
And what I'm curious about is how you actually build those funds.
Sure.
What do they say about that?
Well, they suggest using different strategies depending on the goal.
Okay.
So for that short-term fund, they recommend just like focusing on consistency.
Okay.
Setting up those automatic transfers, even if it's just a small amount each week.
Right. Get that habit going.
It's about building the habit.
And that plays into what we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. Automating the decisions.
Automating, yeah.
Taking the emotion out of it.
Take the emotion out of it.
But for that long-term fund, they suggest a more strategic approach.
All right. So what does that look like?
So they recommend looking for opportunities to maybe boost your income.
Okay.
Maybe through a side hustle or negotiating a raise.
Right.
Be more proactive.
Gotcha.
Think outside the box a little bit.
Okay, so we've got our emergency funds kind of sorted out. But what about those like bigger financial goals?
Yeah, like buying a house.
Like buying a house.
Or investing for retirement.
Investing for retirement.
Right.
How do we even begin to tackle those?
You know, it's funny. This podcast host actually brings up a point that I think a lot of us can relate to.
Okay.
She admits that she used to just avoid budgeting altogether.
Oh, tell me about it.
Because it just felt restrictive.
Yeah.
And kind of boring.
Spreadsheets and tracking every penny.
Yeah, not exactly.
Not exactly my idea of a good time.
Not a party, but the financial expert that she's talking to really turns that whole idea on its head.
Okay.
He says that budgeting, when done right, can actually be incredibly freeing.
Okay. I'm listening.
All right.
How does budgeting equal freedom?
He suggests thinking of it as a way to align your spending with your values. So it's not about depriving yourself.
Okay.
It's about making conscious choices.
Okay.
He actually walks her through a few different budgeting methods.
Okay.
I thought that was pretty helpful.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the 50-30-20 method?
Vaguely.
Okay.
But I've never really looked into it.
All right. So
refresh my memory.
Yeah, it's basically a framework for allocating your after-tax income.
Okay.
So 50% goes towards your needs, like housing, food, transportation.
Right, the essentials.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
30% goes towards your wants.
Okay.
Like entertainment, dining out, travel.
Okay, the fun stuff.
Yeah, the fun stuff.
Gotcha.
And then 20% goes toward your savings and debt repayment.
Okay, that's actually pretty simple.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
I can see how that would make budgeting feel less overwhelming.
Right.
But what if your situation doesn't quite fit into those neat little categories?
Well, that's where the zero-based budgeting method comes in, which they also touch on.
Okay.
So that's a more detailed approach where you account for every dollar of your income.
Wow, okay.
And assign it a specific purpose.
Oh, wow. So it's like creating a personalized spending plan based on your unique circumstances.
Exactly.
I like the flexibility of that.
Yeah.
But to be honest, all this talk about budgeting is bringing up some,
I get it.
Shall we say, emotional baggage?
I know. Money is loaded with emotions.
Yeah, big time.
And speaking of emotions, it feels like we're kind of getting to the heart of the matter here.
Yeah.
This podcast we're looking at actually spends a lot of time exploring those psychological barriers.
Okay.
They can really sabotage even our best financial intentions.
Right, because we can have all the right tools and strategies.
Exactly.
But if our mindset isn't in the right place.
Yeah, it's almost like we're swimming upstream.
Totally.
Yeah.
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 And they actually dive into some specific money mindsets that I think a lot of people are going to recognize in themselves.
Oh, for sure.
One that really stood out to me was this idea of a scarcity mindset,
Yeah.
which they describe as this underlying belief that there's never enough money to go around.
Right. Like this constant
I
anxiety,
get you feeling.
this fear of running out,
Yeah.
even when things are okay.
Even when things are relatively stable,
Yeah.
it's like this constant worry.
Yeah. And it's interesting. They connect that scarcity mindset to specific behaviors,
Okay.
like hoarding money,
Okay.
avoiding spending, or even feeling guilty
Right.
when you do spend money on things you enjoy.
It's like you're trapped in this cycle
Yeah.
of fear and deprivation. Even if you logically know that you're not in dire straits.
It doesn't make sense
Right.
logically,
Yeah.
but those feelings are still there.
So if scarcity is one end of the spectrum,
Okay.
what's at the other end?
Well, they talk about this idea of an overspending mindset.
Okay.
So this is where people kind of feel compelled to spend money they don't have,
Yeah.
often to keep up with a certain lifestyle.
Right. Or fill an emotional void.
Exactly. Retail therapy gone wrong.
Yeah.
You're trying to buy happiness or validation.
Yeah. But it ultimately just leads to more debt and more stress.
Yeah, more problems.
Yeah.
Right.
And what's so interesting to me is that they suggest that both of these mindsets,
Right.
scarcity and overspending,
Yeah.
can actually stem from similar underlying issues,
It's true.
like a lack of security, a feeling of not being enough.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's like two sides of
Yeah.
the same coin.
Totally.
One is driven by fear, the other is driven by this need to compensate.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, they both lead to
Yeah.
unhealthy
Unhealthy habit.
financial habits.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that in this conversation, they don't just diagnose the problem,
Right.
they offer solutions.
Solutions are important.
Yes, they are.
So one of the things they suggest is to start becoming aware of your money scripts.
Okay, money scripts.
Yeah.
What are those?
They describe them as these unconscious beliefs
Okay,
and attitudes that we have about money.
okay,
Often these are things we inherit from our upbringing, our culture,
okay.
our past experiences.
So it's like we're on autopilot,
Yeah.
making decisions based on these hidden scripts
Yeah,
that we may not even be aware of.
Right. And they suggest doing some journaling,
Right.
reflecting on your own experiences with money
Okay.
and trying to identify any patterns or beliefs that might be holding you back.
That's a great idea.
Right.
Like you become your own financial therapist.
I love that.
Yeah, you uncover those limiting beliefs
Yeah.
that are maybe sabotaging your effort.
Sabotaging your best intentions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But what if those beliefs are really deeply ingrained?
Go.
Can you actually change them?
They believe you can.
Okay.
They have a couple suggestions.
Okay.
One is to actively challenge
Mm-hmm.
those negative thoughts with evidence and affirmations.
Oh, okay.
So let's say you find yourself thinking, I'll never be able to afford that.
Yeah.
You counter it with, I'm capable and resourceful, and I'm making smart choices to reach my goals.
So you're reframing the narrative,
Yeah, love it.
shifting from that mindset of scarcity to a mindset of possibility.
That's the goal.
I love that.
Yeah.
They also talk about the importance of surrounding yourself with positive influences.
Absolutely.
So maybe that's finding a financial mentor,
Yeah.
joining a community of like-minded individuals,
Mhm.
or even just following financial experts who inspire you.
Right. Find people who are doing what you want to do
Yeah.
and learn from them.
It's like creating a support system for your financial journey,
Exactly.
just like you would for any other goal
I think that's so important.
that you're working towards.
Yeah. Surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
This has been so eye-opening. It feels like we've gone beyond the usual surface level advice
Yeah.
and really gotten to the core of what it takes to set
I agree.
and achieve financial goals.
This one was deep.
It was.
Really got into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
I think the big takeaway here is that financial well-being is about so much more than numbers.
Right.
It's about understanding yourself,
Yeah.
your beliefs, your values,
Yeah.
and aligning your actions with those deeper motivations.
I couldn't agree more.
All right.
So, to our listeners out there,
Yes.
we hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought,
Ah.
some new tools to add to your arsenal, and perhaps even inspired you to take a closer look
It's a journey.
at your own relationship
Yeah.
with money.
It is.
And remember, you don't have to do this alone.
No. There are resources available.
There-
There are communities that can support you,
Yes.
experts that can guide you.
Yeah, you just have to reach out.
Ask for help.
Absolutely.
You got this.
And even if you stumble along the way,
Yeah, it's going to happen.
remember it's all part of the journey.
It's part of the process.
Be kind to yourself. Celebrate those small wins.
Yeah.
Keep moving forward one step at a time.
Well said.
Thanks so much for diving deep with us today.
All right.
And until next time,
Yeah.
keep exploring.
Keep learning.
Keep learning and keep reaching for those financial goals.
That's what it's all about.
We're rooting for you.
Yeah, it feels like we're really getting to the heart of the matter here.
Yeah.
You know, this podcast conversation actually spends a lot of time
Okay.
exploring these psychological barriers that can really sabotage
Yeah.
our best financial intentions.
Right, because we can have all the right tools and
Exactly.
strategies,
Yeah.
but if our mindset isn't in the right place,
You're right. It's like we're swimming upstream.
totally.
Constantly.
Yeah. And they actually dive into some specific money mindsets
They do.
that I think a lot of people are going to recognize in themselves.
For sure. Yeah.
One that really stood out to me was this idea of a scarcity mindset,
Oh, yeah. Big one.
which they describe as this underlying belief that there's never enough money to go around.
Right. The constant anxiety.
I know that feeling.
The fear of running out,
Yeah.
even when things are relatively okay.
Even when things are stable.
Yeah, you know.
It's like this constant worry.
And it's interesting. They connect that scarcity mindset to specific behaviors,
Okay.
like hoarding money,
Okay.
avoiding spending,
Right.
even feeling guilty
Right.
when you do spend money on things you enjoy.
It's like you're trapped in this cycle of fear and deprivation,
It is, yeah.
even if you logically know you're not in dire straits.
Doesn't make sense logically.
Right. But the feeling's still there.
The feeling's there.
So if scarcity is one end of the spectrum,
Okay.
what's on the other end?
Well, on the other side, you've got this thing called an overspending mindset.
Okay.
And this is where people feel compelled to spend money they don't have,
Yeah.
often to keep up with a certain lifestyle.
Right. Or fill an emotional void.
Exactly, like retail therapy gone wrong.
Yeah.
You're trying to buy happiness or validation.
Right. But it ultimately just leads to more debt and more stress.
More problems, yeah.
More problems.
And it's so interesting that they suggest that both of these mindsets,
Yeah.
scarcity and overspending,
Right.
can stem from similar underlying issues,
Totally.
like a lack of security
Right.
or a feeling of not being enough.
Yeah, it's like two sides of the same coin.
Two sides, yeah.
One driven by fear,
Right.
the other by a need to compensate.
But ultimately, they both lead to unhealthy financial habits.
Absolutely. Unhealthy habits for sure.
And I really appreciate that this podcast doesn't just diagnose the problem.
Right.
They offer solutions.
Yeah. Solutions are important.
They are.
Gotta have solutions. So one of their suggestions is to start becoming aware of your money scripts.
Okay, money scripts. What are those?
Yeah, what are those?
Well, they describe these as unconscious beliefs and attitudes
Okay.
that we have about money.
Okay.
And often these are things that we just inherit from our upbringing, our culture,
And-
past experiences.
So it's like we're on autopilot.
Totally, yeah.
Making financial decisions based on these hidden scripts that we might not even be aware of.
Exactly. They're just running in the background.
Oh.
And they suggest, doing some journaling,
Okay.
reflecting on your own experiences with money, trying to identify any patterns or beliefs
Okay.
that might be holding you back.
I like that it's like you become your own financial therapist.
I love that.
You're uncovering those limiting beliefs
Totally.
that are maybe sabotaging your efforts.
Yeah, sabotaging all your good work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what if those beliefs are really deeply ingrained?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question.
Can you actually change them?
They believe you can.
Okay, good.
And they have a couple suggestions.
Okay.
One is to actively challenge those negative thoughts
Okay.
with evidence and affirmations.
Oh, okay.
So if you find yourself thinking, I'll never be able to afford that,
Yeah.
you counter it with something like, I am capable and resourceful,
Okay.
and I'm making smart choices to reach my goals.
So you're reframing that narrative.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
Shifting from that mindset of scarcity to a mindset of possibility.
That's what we want.
I love that.
That's the goal.
And they also talk about the importance of surrounding yourself with positive influences.
Absolutely. So important.
Maybe that's finding a financial mentor,
Yeah, find a mentor.
joining a community,
Yeah, find your
a
people.
like-minded individual.
Yeah, find your tribe.
Or even just following financial experts online who inspire you.
Right, find people who are doing what you want to do and learn from them.
Yeah, it's like creating a support system for your financial journey.
Exactly, I love that.
Just like you would with any other goal that you're working towards.
Yeah, so important. So important.
This has been so eye-opening.
Good. I'm glad.
It feels like we've gone beyond the usual surface-level advice
Yeah.
and really gotten to the core of what it takes to set and achieve these financial goals.
I agree. This was a really good one. Really dug deep.
It did. Yeah.
I think the big takeaway here is that financial well-being is about so much more than just the numbers.
It is.
It's about understanding yourself,
Yeah,
your beliefs, your values,
totally.
and aligning your actions with those deeper motivations.
I couldn't agree more. So to our listeners out there,
Yes.
we hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought.
Some new tools for your toolbox.
Yeah, some new tools for your toolbox.
Yeah.
And maybe even inspired you to take a closer look
It's a journey.
at your own relationship with money.
It is a journey, but you got this.
And remember, you don't have to do this alone.
There are resources available. There are communities that can support you, experts that can guide you.
Absolutely.
You just got to ask for help.
You just got to ask for help. And even if you stumble along the way,
You will.
it's all part of the process.
It's part of the process.
Be kind to yourself, celebrate those small wins, and keep moving forward one step at a time.
Well said. I like that.
Thanks so much for diving deep with us today.
Of course.
And until next time, keep exploring.
Glaring.
Keep learning. Keep reaching for those financial goals. We're rooting for you.